Yo, what's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lockout, a brand new Supercoach show that we have on the YouTube channel. And obviously, we got the main man, as usual, Brody Blake. What's going on, Brody, my brother? How you been? Obviously, we saw you last night on Down Unders, but obviously, Supercoach here now. How'd your team go, and how you feeling coming into this weekend with a lot of people rage trading at the moment?
Rage trading. Oh, that's a new one. I like it. Yeah, good. I look pretty happy after the sad start with Casey McLean and Luke Metcalf last week with Vegas round. It looked a little bit hairy there, and we said last week that we'd probably be happy to settle around that over 1,000, 1,100 mark, and to crack 1,200. Well, just as good. Can't complain.
Yeah, 100%, bro. And like, your sort of your view set of doing Supercoach and stuff like that, early rounds, are you a guy that tries to shift early with your trades and stuff and get your team set up, or do you let things play out a little bit before you, obviously the rage trade, that sort of stuff, but do you let things play out first of all before you make big decisions in that sort of sense?
Definitely not after round one. You're getting no benefit, loss, or gain after round one. You're better off trading. For me, I think you're better off trading after round two, because you know which guys are going to tank a little bit in cash and what guys are going to go up in cash. So despite any injuries or anything like that, or unless you got like a really crappy score, I'm happy to hold on and not make any trades after round one.
100%, bro. And is there any teams that you're looking at the moment that really impress you over the weekend, Supercoach wise, where you think that this year that's going to be a team definitely to target for Supercoach players? And is there a team that you're looking at just staying completely away, Supercoach wise, coming into this year?
Yeah, well, clearly Melbourne, Broncos, and Manly are your three big ones to chase some players from, because when they score in bunches. We've seen that in previous seasons with the Roosters. They were always good to grab some players from because they're scoring tries all over the park. So they're probably the three to look to grab some players from. To leave alone, that's tough. It's hard to say to leave alone. There's some good players to pick up in every team, but probably still the Tigers until they get their attack into gear. And Parramatta definitely actually to leave alone, at least until we see Mitch Moses back, which is a while away.
We're saying the Tigers too. Do you reckon, coming into this week, Api Coruscant back, Dream Buller back, that obviously will help a lot of areas with their Supercoach scoring as well. Thinking like Jerome Luai and that getting played on the front foot with Api Coruscant. Would you be looking at, those sort of players in the future? Or at the moment, you just, obviously, as you said before, just really patient on the Tigers and just want to see it through. But do you envision playing like with a couple of Tigers players in the future?
I mean, their engine room probably, because they're doing a lot of defense and you're going to get a lot of base stats. But until they start putting on some tries, which I think you're right, they will see an improvement on this week, I'll probably leave the outside backs alone. I think, they're more so the engine room would be all right because you're racking up defense stats and hit up stats. But once their attack kicks into gear, maybe look at some of their backs. But until then, I wouldn't be touching their backs until they start putting on some points.
100%, brother, 100%. All right, guys. Well, we do every sort of week. Obviously, I said before, this is a very brand new show, so we're just trying to round out certain things. But I want to do top scorers of the week, so we're going to go through our top 5 Supercoach scorers of this weekend. So starting off with the list, I may as well chuck us over to the big screen so we can see the reactions. Obviously, me and Brody went through this just before. We'll put it up on the big screen here. So the top 5 Supercoach scorers for this weekend, we had Ryan Papenhuyzen, just an absolute killer game there, 131 points in the first round there. So anyone got on him early, you are cheering for sure. Even without goal kicking, this man is still scoring really high points there. We have obviously DCE with 130 points, a really solid start from DCE. He has moments like this in the Manly Seagulls, just going to have to see how long it lasts for as well. We got Christian Tuipulotu, the big talk of the town with the energy that he brought for the Dragons over the weekend, 128, obviously scoring a hat trick in that game, has really blasted up that score for 128. Finishing off for the last two, Xavier Savage, an incredible performance in Vegas, 114, and Tom Trbojevic, an incredible performance, obviously in round number 1 against the Cowboys, 113 points. But I also wanted to chuck a little smoky one out there that surprised me and Brody. Clint Gutherson with 113 points. Like, we were talking about this before, the Supercoach stats, they go off of Fox League, stats, which I kind of prefer overall. But on this one, it did look like it was a little bit inflated. We were talking about this in the past, they give the try assist stat to the guy that creates the action. But looking back on some of the tries, Brody looked back on some of the tries before this, it was pretty much simple through the hands play, and maybe they should have given more credit to Valentine Holmes for the last pass in those ones. So really interesting score on that last one, right?
Yeah, I think we just checked the stats and what they gave all 3 try assists to Gutherson and not Holmes, whereas Holmes still had a lot of work to do to set up his winger. You know, whereas if you watch back the game on the weekend, Clint Gutherson and Tom Trbojevic were not on the same level. But if you're looking at Supercoach points right here, they're on the same level. And that's just a bit of a joke if you ask me. So does that mean, Tom Trbojevic didn't get a try assist for that bat onto Jason Saab because the movement was created on the inside? Like, where do you draw the line with that?
Yeah, I'm not too sure where, and obviously this is up to their discretion as well. And as I said to you before, I prefer Fox League stats. So I kind of I sit with Fox League in this, but this one did look a little bit wayward. The NRL.com stats usually always go off that last pass. So whoever throws that last pass ends up getting the try assist in their eyes. And as we know, there is other actions just a center, as you said, just a little, tip on to the winger busts a couple of tackles. In NRL.com, they give that a try assist. So I don't think there's any perfect stats at the moment these days, but they definitely need to think these things through, because I know a lot of people are complaining about certain other players. Zach Hosking in Vegas didn't get his try assist on Matty Tomoko's try, or the line break assist, I'm pretty sure, which was definitely a big talking point. So, really interesting in some of the scores, obviously, over the weekend with Supercoach, right?
Yeah, definitely. I get that's going to be hard for halves to score well then, but at the end of the day, if they're the ones that are putting them through that hole, the fullbacks, then they got to get the points, or the centers getting that last pass, or still got work to do, then the tries should go to them. I don't know. If you watch back those 3 tries, I think maybe you could probably give 1 to Gutho, and that's probably being generous. Other than that, Holmes had so much work to do.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Very, very interesting there from Supercoach, but we'll have to see how they continue to work on these stats throughout the season and see which players get inflated due to these certain things overall. So let's move over straight away to your side, bro, and how you did over the weekend. So we'll just jump back over to your webinar, the old website. Obviously scoring this week, 1,244 points. A really good week, obviously, for you. Again, what could have been and what it ended up being, which is really, really solid, especially with the low scores, as we touched on before. Luke Metcalf not going too well, and Casey McLean, both of us were in the same boat there. Missing out on Shibasaki and Robert Toya. I know for me, I got hit harder by that, I do believe. But with you, obviously you would have seen those boys there and you just be like, fuck, could have had them over Casey McLean or something. But obviously 1 week, Casey McLean comes back this week and hopefully a better performance there, right?
Yeah, Casey McLean was just unlucky with a head knock. Otherwise, I'm confident he would have scored up that 80 mark as well, just through his base stats and snagging a try instead of Dane Laurie on the wing. It's pretty straightforward just unlucky, really. They're unfortunate there. And I think Bronson Sherry was a bit hard done by on the points he got given. I know he had a nice line break in the game and his typical work rate. But yeah, can't complain with 1244. One thing I nearly did on the Sunday game was trade out Iongi and put in Pappenhausen. And that would have pushed my score well into the 1300s. But, I seen Pappy had the bye this week. I thought I'd ride with the youngie there to make me some good cash. And I did say Youngie, not Iongi. I know which one I'm saying there, just to clarify that. But that also would have meant I had to trade out Tino, and I was pretty keen on rolling with Tino. So I just left it as is and was happy with the 1244. Iongi definitely still played all right and got a good score there with that try he scored.
A lot of good break-evens coming out of this game as well. As you said, you took the cash gen route with Isaiah Iongi coming off the, off your bench here in the reserves. 37 is his break-even. Break-even is -22. Sorry. So it's predicted for a 37 score. So he is looking like he's going to get some really good cash gen for you and boost up in cash. And he could definitely be our easy ticket to Ryan Pappenhausen in round 3 for depending on how you want to play that out. Other really good performances over the weekend as well. I would throw to Jermaine Asako in a game that, the Rabbitohs are definitely up in that contest. It was a little bit scrappy. Whenever they went left, Junior Tupou was dropping the ball. Whenever they went right, Jermaine Asako obviously creating a lot of actions there, and goal kicking definitely helped him over the edge, right?
Yeah, look, I told you guys Asako's a lock for me. He always will be in the Dolphins. He always seems to find a way to score well, even though the Dolphins do struggle. To answer your question, Tans, yes, all my reserves are in the purple there, but I haven't made my changes for this week. We're going to do that on the live after we go through the last week's results.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. Greg Marchie, obviously 83, really, really solid there. Pair up with Kalen Ponga, 82. So great action there for a Newcastle Knights team that had a ton of errors. So that could only get better, in my opinion, depending on how they, play out week in, week out. Tom Trbojevic coming out with 113 with a captain, bro. Big money, right?
Yeah, and I'm going to load up on captaincy again this week. I'm sorry, my brother.
Unfortunately, you're going to have to see my team. I got Tommy Turbo as captain as well. And I think that for the majority of the year, I think Tommy Turbo is probably a certain captaincy with any sort of side. So even though over this weekend, my New Zealand Warriors, hopefully we can hold out the Manly Seagulls, but it's going to be a tough fucking test, I'll tell you that. Moving over to the big halves that we have here, Nathan Cleary and Nico Hines. Not the biggest shots fired to start the season, but definitely, coming up against each other. Both these guys are notable Supercoach scorers in future, so we're going to have to wait and see how they turn out. But 68 and 50 is not too bad for their first game, but you definitely want to see these guys around that 70 to 80 roll, right?
There'll be a big bounce back this week. I can see Cleary scoring in the hundreds. That's why I've got him as vice. Against a weak Roosters squad. So, pretty keen to see a big score from him this week. And Hines has got the Cowboys. If they play anything like last week, the Cowboys, we can see another big score there coming from Hines as well.
Yeah, 100%, bro, 100%. Moving over to your edge back rollers, we got Fene Fuyaki copping a head knock, but still getting 48. Even with that head knock, very, very good little sign there. So hopefully when he comes back, we'll see how we go. Jack Jaseski with his first game of the Broncos, 80 minutes, scoring a try, 66 points. I did hear that if you take away that try, I think he scored around that 40-point mark. But first game of the season, that's a good little tick there for Jaseski as well.
Yeah, definitely, especially because he's a bottom dollar cheapie, so he was never really going to be a full-time starter for me. He's just going to make some cash in the early stages and move from there. But yeah, can't complain with his scoreline that he produced me.
And the one thing that I think is a big swing that you definitely knocked it out of the park on, Paddy Carrigan to start the season. You could have gone so many different options in that front row role. Obviously, I went with Sarah May to kind of run with the crowd so I don't miss the crowd. You went against the crowd and it served you perfectly with Paddy Carrigan, 93 points to start the season and looks amazing.
Yeah, I just knew big minutes. Big minutes were going to be for Paddy. I knew he was going to move to that lock forward role once he Kobe Harrington went off. So I knew he would play extended minutes there. But yeah, I didn't know he was going to produce that good of a scoreline. I guess Payne Haas is feeding that engine room right now, and the other guys are trying to keep up, and it just brought the best out of Paddy as well.
Any big standout players we didn't touch on just there, bro, that you looked at and was like, we need to really keep an eye on him, or like that you really impressed with for the first week?
Hubner, I love the work that Hubner got through in his stint as well. A good 43 there for a bottom dollar cheapie on debut. And Blake Brayley was a good one. I did have Reed Marnie, and I think he scored 20, you told me. So I'm glad I swapped that out last minute. Otherwise, I would have been in a world of hurt. So, yeah, other than that, pretty straightforward. I'm keen to see what Tino produces. He's normally a super coach favorite. And I'm liking that he's named at lock forward as well. So he'll play big minutes.
So if anyone's got Supercoach Plus 2, guys, obviously me and Brody don't, but we get the free trial to start the season. You do get the options of break-evens under the predicted scores that they have. So break-evens, basically anyone new to Supercoach is like, the score that they had last week, they compare that with the score they have this week, and how much, money they'll actually get within that. So they'll have to score, let's say Sandon Smith will have to go a -1 to hold the same amount of cash. If he goes over a -1, obviously if he gets a positive score this week, he'll make money for you next week. That's the best way to really summarize that. So in future, just keep an eye on your break evens. We'll definitely touch on them week in, week out to see who is looking really good and who's going to make a lot of cash for everyone out there. But are we ready to move over to your trades this week, my brother?
Yeah. Just on that though, you get the price increase after week 3, isn't it?
That is correct. So you watch this week, and then I'm pretty sure next week you get the price increase, right? From memory.
So after 2 games or after 3 games?
It'll be after 3 games, sorry. Yeah, so it'll be the 3rd game and then a price increase.
Yeah, so next week gives you a good chance to trade out anyone that's going to lose your cash if you're worried about it, or you can trade in guys that are tipped to make good cash. So that's smart for you to be able to do that as well, to keep an eye on guys if you're needing cash or want to build to somebody bigger.
Yeah, and basically the way it would work, so let's say for a bottom dollar person that you want to trade out for, that you maybe missed out on, right? You get 1 more week of watching it this weekend, right? They score what they score. Those two scores come together. But the third score, if you want to get on those ones for the price rise, you're going to get on next week. So you got to trade them in next week. They score over the weekend, then they move up in their price with the next update. So that's how that will work out. So also, yeah, just keep an eye on your cheapies, who's looking really good, and keep an eye on other cheapies around that you can make a price on. One big one that a lot of people will be talking about, obviously you don't have him, I don't have him personally either, is Tamale for the Raiders, scoring really big first round. If he gets another good score this week and gets another, obviously stays in the lineup next the week after for the Raiders, you could trade him in and build your cash up that way as well. So
yeah, that's definitely what I'll be looking at if Bronson Sherry or Casey McLean have a bad week this week. 100%. That's who I'll be looking just to make cash, and then trade in some superstar there the following week after that.
100%, bro. All right, let's move through your trade. So, guys, we want to do this live for anyone that's really, really new. Again, we're saying all this. We are professionals, guys, but we just want to show people that are very, very new. We do have a lot of people that are new to Supercoach on the channel. So, brother, let's run through your trades. So, first of all, who are you looking to trade out this week?
Yeah, so I'm going to only make the one change this week, but I'm going to start off by moving Tino into the back row for White to move to the front row.
Okay, so we're going to substitute Tino Fa'asul Malawi, and then we're going to substitute Nafahu White, and that pushes Nafahu White to the prop room up top there.
Yep, and I'm going to go Tino into the run-ons for Finifuiaki, who is obviously out with the HIA this week.
Beautiful. Going to trade those two in, so Tino's there.
And the only trade I'm going to make this week is Ryan Couchman, who's done his ACL and gone for the season. Is it Ryan Couchman? Sorry.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Yeah, it's Ryan Couchman. Yeah, I'm going to trade him out, and I'm going to get in Suli Tupanua for the Bulldogs, who had a killer scoreline on the weekend, scoring a double. I'm not tipping him to get a double each week, but even without 2 tries, he had like 19 carries in 40 minutes. The Doggies have also got Sam Hughes out for 6 weeks, I've seen, so that means that Tupanua is still going to get big minutes there. So I'm going to trade him in and ride the price rise there.
Sweet. We're going to push in Satili Tupanua. So we hit the plus button, complete the trade. Bang. And what available cash you left over? 23,700 left in your account. And guys, you'll see here, Satili Tupanua is on your bench. Do you want to put him in your lineup, my bro?
Yeah, I'm going to put him in for Hubner this week. I think I'm going to ride with Jack still in my starting squad. I think he'll be able to produce at least another good 40, whereas Hubner, I think, he might just stay around that 40, whereas Jack's got more upside to potentially score a try and get that 60 odd. And that's the only trade I'm making this week. And the only other thing I'm doing is taking off Metcalf as a reserve and going to put Shibazaki as my 4th reserve.
All right, so we're going a Metcalf off the reserve here, guys. This is how you do it, and Shibasaki will get the reserve. So he's 4 reserves for the week. Isaiah Aongi, Shibasaki, Jesse Arthurs, Nico Hines. Yeah, that's your 4. Sorry, I've miscounted. Yeah, that's your 4 for the week. So
that's all good, brother. And just for everybody out there as well, if you make your trades like as soon as it comes unlock on the Monday because you rage trade about getting shit guys, and then you see the team list come out later in the week, and then you've noticed that somebody's not playing that you've put in or whatever. If you just go onto that button there that says undo changes, if you want to hit that, brother.
Yep. I've clicked on it and it's not working on me right now.
Oh yeah, scroll up.
Here we go.
So
right,
don't go confirm, but see guys here, it will show you all the changes that you've made. Or you can just simply update the trade that you've made, but it shows you all the changes you've made. So the guys you've selected as reserves, yada, yada, yada. But if you just hit confirm, your team will reset completely to that squad that you had in that last round. So that's where we're at with that. But if you need to do that for whatever reason.
100%. Tan's got a good little question here. Why all backs for your reserves, brother? Is there a particular reason?
Nah, it's no particular reason at all. It's just I see more upside to select these guys to score higher scores than the other guys that I've got on my reserves at this point. So like Hubner, I think he will only get about 40. Definitely not leaving out Nico Hines. Nafu White, I think the Roosters are in a bit of a hole at the moment. I think he'll score well still, but I don't see him getting more than like Shibasaki or Arthurs who have the try-scoring ability there. Iongi as well, same thing. He gets through a fair bit of work, might score a try or 2 there, whereas Sandon Smith up the top, I don't think he's going to have too good of a week this week with the hole that I see the Roosters in at the moment. And Robert Toya, well, he's got the ability to score, but I'm just kind of going with the best guys I've got that I think will score the best, whether they're forwards, backs, whatever. I just see more upside to the guys that I've got my backs at the moment, more so than my reserves in the forwards, who are mostly bottom dollar cheapies, just trying to get me some cash.
And the best way to summarize that too, the Roosters coming up against the Penrith Panthers this weekend. It's going to be a tough night out. So these guys probably won't look at scoring too high. The Broncos, against the Canberra Raiders, still a tough matchup, but a little bit more favourable than the Penrith Panthers, obviously. Anyone that knows footy, that's, definitely a more favourable matchup overall. So play it by matchup, play it by, scorers that go really well. That's pretty much how you look at your reserves and that. Robert, how will Pakes go at hooker? Pakes for the first week went fairly decent. I don't know. I have to check in his players.
He went really well, and he's a bottom dollar cheapie. So if you've got a
56,
if you've got a hooker there that's not, performing well, he's already ahead of his break-even score, and he's not going to go negative. That's not going to happen. So he'll get a nice little price increase if he gets another good score like 56. So if you've got a hooker that's out there struggling, like maybe a Reed Marnie, then potentially look to trade him out.
And if the Broncos continue to play the way they did over the weekend and, build from the middle, their system looks like this year they're going to play through their forwards, they're probably, it might be the best 1-2 punch combination in the competition, or just right up there with the best 1-2 punch combination with Paddy Carrigan, Payne Haas. Corey Pakes is going to have a lot of the wheeling and dealing in the middle there, as you saw in that first game against the Roosters. So probably a really good option for future cheapie if anyone wants to jump on him for the next price rise, right?
Yeah, 100%. But, most people either got him or Sandon Smith, so you're laughing either way.
100%, bro. Make sure you double check also. I just logged out your account. Double check if it all saved your team and all that. I'm pretty sure it did.
You're trying to stitch me up, aren't you?
Oh, hell no, mate. That's why I said something for you. I didn't want that little cheap rise there in the old competition, because you've got a good little start on me right now, don't you?
Yeah. Look, Tans, I feel for you. Bully Moore is definitely, he was definitely one that was potential, but I do see why he went with Takiaho, and now it's just unlucky that he's injured. But that's all right, because it won't affect Takiaho's potential to get a price increase when he is back, but depending how long he's out for.
All right, I'm just going to undo my trades as well, just so people can see how I did last week. All right. So this is my team, guys. 1,200 last week. Obviously, my salary left over from the first week was 30,900. Starting off from the bottom here, Kalen Ponga, Tom Trbojevic, Iongi, pretty much exactly the same as Brodie's squad. The only differences I really had in Brodie's squad: Ruben Garrick, Adam Dewey, and Jackson Purdue. Jackson Purdue obviously going up against Ola Kawatu over the weekend. Poor guy, 28 points by sitting there. But man, poor man. But obviously, I got hit. Oh, he'd be still having nightmares, right? But obviously I got hit by the nightmare of Case McLean and Luke Metcalf both being on my side this weekend, as Brodie did as well. But all the other guys definitely held up their end of the bargain as well. Ruben Garrick, 86. Greg Marju, 83. Adam Dewey, the goal kicking, 41. I probably would have loved to see a little bit more touches from him. But hopefully he can build in the season. 41's a good start. Cam Munster was probably my big firer this week. 99 points, incredible.
It would have been a lot more if Pappenhausen passed him for that try. So,
bro, fuming, right? Fuming. Nathan Cleary, Nico Hines in the squad. Obviously, moving over to my edge back rower, Dylan Lucas. Definitely fired on Dylan Lucas, which is good to see. My other two guys didn't fire at all. Kalmar completely out of side this week and leaves with a 27 point there, so that's not a great sign. And Siwa Wong, even with the longer minutes due to Radley getting knocked out, still only with the 32. Probably a guy that I went early on. Maybe he can get another little score in there for me, but I'll probably be looking at trading him out in future time, just depending on how he goes.
Yeah, at least he's, the Roosters are in a bit of a world of hurt, so at least he retained that starting position, and they're going to have to do a lot of work through the middle this week, so hopefully he can get some good base stats through that middle for you, just to hopefully not drop in cash. If he doesn't gain any, at least hopefully he holds his cash for you.
100%, bro. 100%. Terrell May, I almost said Taylor May about 3 times there. Terrell May, 78 points. A good start for Terrell, obviously. We didn't really predict him to go this high to start off with. We're going to have to wait and see how he continues to go through with the Tigers. Now he's the alpha dog of the Tigers, if you want to call him that. Corey Horsburgh, 61 points as well. Really good start from those boys, as we touched on with Brodie's squad. And the other main difference I had with Brodie, Harry Grant was 61 points. I'm pretty sure he had Blake Brayley 63 or 62. So, both sitting on good scores. I probably would expect a little bit more from Harry. I did think Harry did quite a lot in that game, but obviously only coming away with 61
Especially with the
points.
try, that's a bit of a strange one.
Very much so, very much so. But you know, with Melbourne, if they continue on the way they've been going, and you know, with all that, like I think Harry Grant just grows from that position. So there's going to be a lot of moving for my team, guys. So let's just go through it one by one. The way I'm going to start off with, I'm just going to start off with Harry Grant. I'm going to substitute him for Sandham Smith because obviously he's on the bye this week, and take the reserve off him. So obviously I got no reserve there. Moving over, my first trade of the weekend. I don't like to do too many trades early round, but I'm only going to do one trade this weekend. Kelma Tuolangi, 433k. I risked it with him to start the week. Does look like that he's going to have a week off, and maybe could be multiple with that first defensive performance, right?
Yeah, a bit of cash there. I can see why you wanted to trade him out. Other than that, I do see why you like to hold, just like myself, especially in these early weeks. But it's so unknown there, and you can't afford to have that big of a player that's not even picked. You know, he's not out due to an injury or a suspension or anything, but, you know, a guy like that with that much cash there, you can't afford to have that sitting there at the moment, can you, brother?
Nah, no way, man, no way. So I'm going to chase the upside. I'm going to run with you on Satili Tupanua. The other option I was thinking of, because I do have the cash to do so, the only thing is it would leave me a little bit more out of pocket, is to run down here with Tom Gilbert with 462k. I was kind of going back and forth. That was all base with Tom Gilbert, but Satili Tupanua, the attacking upside.
Yeah, it's like a defense upside compared to an attacking upside, isn't it? And we know that, you know, attack can get you hundreds, as we've seen there, whereas, you know, defense can only get you so much. So, you know, you're hoping that Tupanua can carry enough to still get that 60 mark and potentially more, whereas, you know, Gilbert's only going to get between that 40 and 60 unless he sneaks a try, and you never know. But it's highly unlikely for someone like Tommy Gilbert that's mostly a workhorse in defense, right?
Exactly right, bro. Exactly right. So I'm going to move Wong to my bench as well. Oh, fuck. I ended up putting a trade. Let me get out of that.
Just trying to get him out, like get him gone.
Yeah, get him going, coming up against the Panthers this weekend. But I'm going to sub him out. I'm going to put in Lockie Hubner in. Obviously, Lockie Hubner, a great little start there with the Rabbitohs. Hopefully, he can go for another big week with the Rabbitohs there overall. Moving over, we're going to take Luke Metcalf off my bench and put him in the starting lineup. This is a big risk, obviously, overall with Luke Metcalf's first round, but I did know that this could happen when I had Cam Munster in that first round. So I'm hoping for Luke Metcalf to fire. I'm just going to have to run with it and just trust in my boy. Hopefully he bounces back this week.
Yeah, you're not willing to waste two trades, right? You know, you got a guy there that's still got the starting position. You don't want to burn two trades in the 1 week because you're forced to make the change of Kalma. Whereas, like, yeah, you don't want to be using two trades in 1 week unless you score and your team went completely bust or you got nobody else to choose from. So, you know, there's some upside here. You know, Metcalf probably maybe played his worst game. Hopefully he's back home. He's comfortable. He should base around 40, especially if your guys can put at least a couple of tries on and he can slot the conversions this time. So, yeah, I could see the worthwhile to keep him there. You know, it's only 1 more week. Then Munster's back and won't have a bye for a while. And you can look to trade him out next week if he has another bad week. You know, you can take the hit. You can get 4 and 12 and still have a good week. So, you know, hopefully you don't have too many other guys that shank it if Metcalf does shank it.
Yeah, 100%. And, you know, if he fires, then all good. But I do have a plan to backup plan here. We obviously got Adam Dewey there that can push up to a halfback to a 6 role, sorry. I could trade out Luke Metcalf and maybe move him around a couple pieces around there and maybe get another centre wing around that price range if I am willing, if it doesn't go the way that I'm planning it to as well. The one thing also to continue to watch out for, RP Coruscant comes back for the Tigers. So whether he takes the goal kicking off Adam Dewey, it's really wait and see. So that is definitely a worry for Adam Dewey's score coming into this weekend as well, but I knew the risk of what is going to happen, so I'm just going to run with it, just see what comes from it. I'm also going to put Shibasaki as well on my reserve there, so that will be that, and I think I need one more reserve. I would have to go Wong, I reckon. No, I'll have to go Nafahu White.
Yeah. I think Nafahu White's probably the better option in my opinion, to pick out of those two for a reserve. Who are the Dragons got?
The Dragons have got the Rabbitohs this week.
And did Jack de Belin get ruled out?
Jack de Belin, I'm pretty sure, would be ruled out, yes.
Then Hamish Stewart might be some upside to potentially pick there. But I think you play it safe and go with White because you don't know the extent of Stewart's minutes.
Yeah, that might be a game time decision to see what happens there. Jack DeBellin is named in the lineup. Something wrong. Yeah, he's still in the lineup there. Blake Laurie is in the lineup for the Dragons, so some guy like he could take a little bit of minutes there, but that's probably definitely going to be a game time decision, especially come tomorrow night. Whether I want to risk it with Nafahu White or I want to risk it with obviously Hamish Stewart. I got Jackson Purdue there as well that I could probably shoot on as well. But against the Sharkies, I don't think so. Yeah, it's going to be a tough little outing there for him. And also, to last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a vice captaincy on Kalen Ponga tonight. So my thought process is if Kalen Ponga goes massive, I might VC loophole, but more than likely I'm going to leave it on Tom Trebojevic and see what he comes up against my Warriors, unfortunately.
Yeah, and especially with, you light on with your other guys that will be scoring, so your emergency wouldn't do the best if you Vicey loopholed as well. But it's still worth it, in case Ponga does go for 200 and then doubled that. So it's worth the risk. That's why I'm going with Cleary. But I can definitely see Ponga as well going for big tonight.
And how good is it now having that flex position where you can do a good double fullback, VC on either and as captain on the other? That's a really good thing to open up.
Deadly. Scary.
Sweet, my brother. Sweets. Moving over. So obviously, my trade overall this week, guys. Satili Tupanua comes into my lineup and a couple of missing matching on my reserves. Definitely hoping for a big performance there from Dylan Lucas again, which would be good to see. Satili Tupanua would be amazing to see as well. Question here from Jose. While I move us back to the other screen. Question, would you sub Ali Leotar for Casey McLean in the starting backline? So Ali Leotar is our center going up against the Manly Seagulls. He'll be going up against Ruben Garrick. So
yeah, for me, I would not, especially I see the Panthers doing the Roosters fairly big on the scorecards, and I dare say Casey McLean will grab one, if not two tries, as well as the work rate out of the back end. I see the Roosters not making a lot of field position, and there'll be a lot of kicks downfield, and the Panthers will just roll out of their back end like they do. Whereas the Wars, I didn't really see their attack fire enough to definitely right now to pick a Warriors player over someone like Casey McLean, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. And sorry, guys, I did get it wrong. Ali Leotar will be going up against the rookie Clayton Fa'alalo. Fa'alalo is an incredible little player. He's played New South Wales Cup, had a really good scoring record in New South Wales Cup. Gola has been a late pull out of the Manly Seagulls lineup, which is really unfortunate, but maybe there's a little bit upside there for Ali Leotar if you want to go that way. But yeah, the Penrith Panthers against the Roosters, Casey McLean, that could be an option as well.
Yeah, I think everyone's seeing the score he got of 4. Just remember, guys, he got a HIA in the first 2 minutes of that game, so that's why his score was very low. He didn't have a shit game because he's shit. He got a shit score because he got knocked out in his first 2 carries or something like that. So ride with Casey McLean, especially see how he goes this week. And, he'll probably cover his break even in just this 1 week.
Thanks for the question, Jose. Hopefully that helps you with your thoughts going into this week. Robert M. There's a little bit of older comment, but thank you so much for commenting, bro. I've got Reynolds in the halves. He scored 65 without captaincy or vice. 65. I'm pretty sure he scored like 100 and something, didn't he? No, yeah, 105. So maybe you're talking about fantasy, my brother. I'm not too sure.
Yeah, you might be on NRL fantasy, brother, whereas this is, Supercoach. Me and Ash get so frustrated with NRL fantasy. We stay away from NRL fantasy. We tried it there last year, and by week 6, you got nobody because the salary caps are so shit, and the scoring in that is just different. So that's why we like Supercoach a lot better.
100%. You got a little bit more options with Supercoach. I like, filling out a full lineup of teams where instead, fantasy, it was really, really tight. And it felt tight. It really did. You couldn't really make too many moves, and you had to wait. Like, obviously, you had to get on that player the week before and had like a glass, honestly, little, little glass ball to kind of think of who was going to go crazy that week and get a massive price rise before you jump on, right?
And you have to pick 2 centers, 2 wingers. Like, it wasn't like centers, wingers combined, and you could have 3 fullbacks. Oh no, sorry, fullbacks, wings. You could have 3. Oh, I don't know. It's shit. Let's leave it at that.
It's different. It's definitely different. Coming into this tonight's game too, brother. Looking at both of the lineups. Did you had KP? You vice captains Nathan Cleary
because he's on tomorrow night.
So you're just going to straight captain Tommy Trbojevic and just not forget about it? Obviously, it's the first game. You're not worried in that area. You're just going to be like, is what it is?
Nah, because at the end of the day, I'm not willing to trade out Tommy to not score at all for me, you know. So I'm just going to ride with him straight captaincy.
Is there any player coming into this weekend that you're looking at and going, they're going to go big with the matchup? So obviously the matchups this weekend, you got the Knights versus the Dolphins. You got obviously the Warriors versus Eagles. Tommy Trbojevic is probably a good look there. Panthers versus Roosters, Nathan Cleary. Is there anyone you're looking at the weekend where you're like, they're going to go big?
Tom Trbojevic.
Yeah.
Casey McLean, I feel like is going to go big. KP will probably go big tonight. And I reckon Nico Hines is in for a big game. And probably Tino. Tino will probably go big against the Doggies. Just, he's a bigger body. Our defense is like really structurally sound, but Tino, he plays with that chip on his shoulder. You know, he'll keep going. And I dare say he'll have a pretty big performance. But yeah, Hines, Tino, Cleary, McLean, Ponga, Tom Trbojevic.
That would be where you're looking at captaincy options, but Tommy Turbo is just a lock and load.
Yeah, Tommy Turbo, I could see him at least getting a try, 2 try assist. I could see him getting at least 100 this week, but all those guys, I reckon, good chance getting over 100.
100%, bro, 100%. And also, as you said, Tino Fa'asuamaleaui last year doing his ACL out Belmore against the Dogs. The chip on his shoulders right there, right? He wants to obviously show out at Belmore.
He hates us as well.
All right, Jose, another question. In our Supercoach League, it is not head-to-head. It's just ladder point-based system. Yeah, so I wanted to do it that way so we get as many people as possible. With a head-to-head system, we could only get up to 20 people from memory. So with our Down Unders League, I'll go jump that up as well. We can probably check who's on top of that Down Unders League now, which is really cool to see. Bragg Takarangi. In number 1 on our Down Unders League there, scoring 1,337, a really good score from him. What do you have here? Corey Pakes, Sanders Smith, Terrell May, Horsburgh, Tino, Olakau'atu, bro. Really good little option there.
Massive.
He went with the Nico Hines and just ran with Cleary, so that's probably what freed him up cash to go big in his second row there. Metcalf and Munster, and then running with the two of us, Shaq, Roger, Ruben Garrick, really solid side this one.
Solid back line. Even though he got hit by, Duffy and Metcalf doing bad, the rest of the guys carried. So whereas we had, Casey McLean and Metcalf do bad, as well as a couple other guys being a bit average, but he had some big scores there. Olakau'atu, Terrell May, and all of his back line.
Incredible. Mel Mifinger, what a name for a squad. That's so good. Similar sort of squad. Harry Grant, you're seeing similar names. Isaiah Yeo, really good little pick there. 90 points to start the season. Consistent, right? Just consistency.
Massive.
Munster, Weeks. Fa'atape is a real interesting little pick there, but we'll have to wait and see how he feels about that.
I don't know. He had a couple of guys as well that didn't really hit the mark in Metcalf, KO Weeks, and the Tigers player there, but still scored a lot. So it just shows that, you can have a few guys that do bad. You just need a couple to really go off for you. That big 90 there of Yo, 100 of Olakau'atu, 86 Garrick, Munster.
Yeah, solid.
And
it shows as many
matters.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that's a big one. No, you're right, bro. That's a big one right there. Mel Mafinger just also showing that. I love it, bro. Just showing that there's multiple ways to skin a cat. And a little bit of different players, and still a very good result to getting second in our league for the first week there. And Shama, Jose, this is your squad, baby. Good to see you up there at the top of our league there, and number 3. Corey Pakes, a really good pickup. Olakau'atu and Eli Katoa early on, very, very solid. Coming to this week, looks like you're going to have a lot of different people you're going to try to reserve by the looks of it. Jerome Luai and Cam Munster, pretty solid options. Ali Leotoa, Casey McLean, as you said. Very solid squad, Jose. Very solid squad.
I think everybody captained Tom Trbojevic on the weekend by the looks of it.
Yeah, you'd kind of be silly not to, right? You would be really silly not to.
I've got a Stacey Jones as well.
Stacey Johnson. So obviously Stacey's Johnson. That's great. Good little mix between our two legends at the New Zealand Warriors. Jacob Lehman, but Ola Kawatu, Galol Matangi, good little one. Viliami Kikau with 84 points to start the season. Good little start for him.
Yeah, nice. Would have
Seeing
been better
very
if he held
similar
the
players,
ball.
though. Yeah, hands like feet, that man, sometimes.
Oh, Xavier Savage on the bench was a good pickup.
Very good pickup, yeah. Good little option there. Nick Meaney with the 98 as well to start the season at 619K.
Yeah, he's a lot of money. That's why I steered away from him, but fuck, he performed it on the weekend.
Goal kicking with Melbourne Storm this year. I think points-wise, that seems to be the way to go. But shout out to those guys. They're top 4 in our league at the moment. Brad Takarangi, Mel Mafinga, Chama, and Stacey's Johnsons. So guys, if you want to check out our league as well, actually I'll go back to this. This is our league code at the top here. 378201. If you want to jump in our league, it is unlimited, so you can all jump in. Our league ranking 144. That's a pretty solid start. Start.
Is that like overall ranking for our league?
For our league, yeah.
So it's a pretty strong league. League average is 1196. It's not bad at all.
And with the Waz Up league average of 197. So very strong league to start off there. You know, like it's not too bad for our first season.
Yeah, look, the boys from the men will be separated in the few coming weeks once everyone starts to trade. It's easy to really start the Supercoach league because you're got a blank canvas there and your salary cap. But when you start, making money, losing money, injuries, suspensions, buys, you start putting all that in there and you start separating the boys from the men. So good luck to everybody out there. I won't take it personally, but I'll see some of you guys in the chat.
Before we jump to our overs and unders as well, I just want to finish out, obviously, with Jose's question there, as we just touched on before. In our Supercoach League, is it not the head-to-head? It's just a ladder-based system. So overall, it is an open league, as I touched on before. The reason why I did want to do that is, number one, getting more players in, but also you just have to be on it week in, week out. You have to stay on top of it. Pretty much just think of it, you're head-to-head against everyone in the league. So just keep an eye on your Supercoach team, and that's where you really you have the moments where people obviously fall in and out of Supercoach, and they'll probably fall pretty hard in the league. So just keep on top of it and see if you can end up on the top of our league at the end of the season.
Big bragging rights.
100%. Massive bragging rights. And maybe in the future, if we obviously get some more things in that, we could do some giveaways, whoever wins out in the season. So we'll have to wait and see how this all goes in the future.
If I lose, I'm going to give these hands out.
Shout out to Brodie's hands. Just as good as Billy Cows.
Oh, come on.
Shout out. Shama. All right, but talking overs and unders. So this is where I shoot out the score from last week. Some guys out there, and I'm going to give Brodie the option to whether they're going to improve on that score in overs or they're going to go unders of that score overall.
We should start doing that with people's teams.
Hey, we could. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe next week.
100%. All right. We'll definitely look at that. So the first man I want to touch on, Adam Reynolds, 105 in that week, that massive win against the Rabbitohs. His break even coming to this weekend, -5. His average of last year was 51 points per game. So do you reckon he goes big again against the Canberra Raiders over 105, or do you reckon he goes under? I think this is a quite easy one.
He goes under, and I think he goes under by a fair bit. I don't think the Broncos will put as big of a scoreline on, so he won't get as many points goal kicking. And I don't know, Adam Reynolds still just worries me that he's going to do an injury.
Yeah, 100%. I'm right there with you. I think the Canberra Raiders will be a little bit more solid defensively. Obviously, as I continue to say, they're very high to start the season. Defensively, they're going to lock in. But, I'm sure they're still going to go fairly well, the Broncos. But 105, a killer score for a 50-point scoreline. I don't really see that against the Canberra Raiders this weekend.
Nah, neither.
Next one, Connor Tracy, 90 points last week against the St. George Illawarra Dragons. A really good showing, especially what he threw up in the trials. But coming into the season, he's just he's lighting it up red hot. Break even of 27 coming to next week, and it's 60-point average from last season. Do you reckon he goes over again, 90, or do you reckon he goes under?
He's going to go under 90, but he'll still score fairly high. I reckon he'll get about 80. 70 to 80, I reckon. I just see him doing a fair bit of work out of our back end, while the Titans try and find their feet for the first game of the season. And then we'll probably blow them away late. You'll probably get a support try here or there.
Yeah, and the biggest test of the Gold Coast Titans this season is how good they're going to be defensively, with the Doggies finding a little bit of their mojo and attack this season fairly early on, which is great signs for the Dogs because it is a systematic attack like ours. Once you go red hot, it's going to continue on. It's very consistent. I think Connor Tracy will find his moments, but 90 is pretty high for him. I'd probably go under again this week, but he does have the potential to go over if he gets a couple of tries off the back of the Titans lacking defense, if it is the same as last year.
Yeah, 100%. Those late ones as well. Titans haven't got match fitness. We could blow them away a little bit late. Expect, a line break and Connor Tracy to be right there for a try.
100%, bro. Next one, we got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Nathan Cleary, scoring 68 points last week. Early season, slow start, even though they had a good win against the Cronulla Sharks, but Supercoach-wise, slow start. 94 break even coming in this weekend, and he averaged last year 83 points per game. Does Nathan Cleary go over 68 points coming into this week?
Nathan Cleary doubles 68 points this week and scores 136.
136. He's gone down to the digit too. 0.5.
I think so. 0.5.
Carry the one. No,
Gutho
I love to see it. Gutho. Shout out to the 3 try assists of Gutho.
Oh, fuck.
Nah, I'm definitely right there with you, bro. Whatever the Roosters threw up last week, it's going to take them a little bit to fix up on a lot of those issues. Like maybe they will come in this week with a little bit more energy, but the Penrith Panthers, they're a ruthless side. So I'm going to go Nathan Cleary to go over 68 points as well.
Oh, that's a good question.
Supercoach Warrior, who would you choose out of Haas or AFB?
Oof. I mean,
Haas this week, 104 points. Adam Fanua-Blake, 92 points.
And you got to remember, AFB did that with a try. He's not going to score a try every week. So for me, consistency-wise, it's got to be Haas. Not saying that AFB won't go for big scores because he will, clearly. But you take, tries 20, the line break as well, and tackle Bruss that he got 2 score that tries. Probably take off about 35 points for that try. And then Haas is all base, basically, just being a machine.
Much.
So yeah. I would probably go Haas, in my opinion. He's just a bit more Supercoach proven and consistent. But I can see the upside to AFB as well because he could snag a try in a lot of these games, the way that Blake Brayley loves to use his front rollers.
Looking price-wise out of the two as well, Adam Fanua-Blake at $706K, and obviously the cheaper man here, Payne Haas, is $669K. So if there's an option to buy either one, I would probably look at Payne Haas over Adam Fanua-Blake, but I don't think you can really go too wrong with either option. I just think that the way that Payne Haas look in the season, bro, he's just taken a whole new step, and I think we both believe he's the most talented prop in the competition before this, even over Adam Fanua-Blake. And then now he's gotten better. I think that he's just going to take a whole new step. And the way Madge is playing him 30 minutes on and then taking him off, and he's can front load. I think we're just going to see bigger Supercoach scores from Haas this season. 100%.
So yeah, Haas, especially since he's the cheaper man.
Great option though, Supercoach Warrior. Thank you so much for the question there. But yeah, either way, bro. Honestly, you can take it our word or not. Both options are good.
Paddy Carrigan because he's a jewel.
Yeah, that's a good option as well. Shout out to Paddy Carrigan, 92 to start the season too. So that's a good one there. Moving back over to our overs and unders, Reed Marnie last week, unfortunately only scoring 20 points as we touched on earlier. His break even is 93 and he averaged last year 58 points. Do you reckon he goes over or under the 20 points this week?
I think he's going to get Simbin this week by antagonizing Tino. So I'm scared to say over, but it should be over. But it would not surprise me if he gets Simbin and goes under. But even with the Simbin, I'm going to say that he'll go over. So I think Reed will get about 40 this week.
I'm with you, bro. He should go over for sure, but there definitely is a risk with Reed Money on scoring that 20 points without a Simbin. Imagine, he got a Simbin in that game as well. Crazy.
Shout out Brendan Beercora.
Shout out Brendan Beercora. And lastly, a guy that's a little bit more a mid-range here, so it could go either way. I'm thinking of a one way though. Brandon Best last week scoring 40 points. A couple of errors in that game that didn't help him in his scoring. But he has a 73 break even coming into this week, and his last year average was 58 points per game. So 40 is not too far away from that 58 point average. Does he go over or under the 40 points against the Dolphins tonight?
I think he goes over. He's going to be coming up against Jake Alvarado as well. So I think that he'll go over this week.
I actually think he's against Herbie because Herbie's on that right side, and I'm pretty sure Brandon Best is on the left.
Is Herbie right these days?
Yeah, Herbie switched sides last week.
All right.
Weird they've done that again.
He's going to go over.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to go Brady Best to go over that as well. I thought he looked in good form the other night. I think the errors really hampered his score. I thought his tackle breaking ability just looks on song. He's looking powerful as ever. I think he goes over that 40 points against the Dolphins. Shout out to Jose as well. Another good little question. Who's Tino? What's Tino like in Supercoach? Who's Tino? I don't know where the hell I got that from. What's Tino like in Supercoach? Tino, great Supercoach scorer, right? He's also a duel. What are your thoughts on Tino, especially coming into this weekend against your Dogs?
He's in my team for a reason.
Yeah, easily said and done. And shout out to Jose too. For a guy to ask these questions, sounds like he hasn't played too much Supercoach, and the side that he played over the weekend, solid. So,
yeah, Tino. You know, in his first couple of years of NRL, probably not the first couple, but not last year, but the 2 years before that, he was averaging about 80. But, you know, he was having games where he was hitting that 100, just mostly off base stats.
Yeah, 100%. So Tino is a great little option there for Supercoach. He's definitely well underpriced for what he can produce. He can get up to that 700 to 800K range as well, if you're thinking of it money-wise. So definitely a great option to have in your squad if you haven't got him already. He also has a question here. So a player has 2 weeks to beat their break even. So yeah, it's overall on a 3-week average. So as we said, you got 3 scores, but you want to jump on the second week. So when the third week goes over, you're not locked out away from that player.
Yeah. So yeah, they've got 3 weeks to beat it, Jose, but you can't wait until after that third week to trade them in and get the price increase. You need to trade them out after the second week, and hopefully they've already beaten it or will beat it in that third week before they increase after the round 3 lockout has completed, if that makes sense.
Exactly right. And that's why it's always good to target people like negative break even, stuff like that, to where they it's pretty tough to get a full negative stat unless you're, I think Brendan Piacorda, did he get a negative score over the weekend?
He sure did. He got negative 10.
So that's at his worst, and we're seeing some negative break evens of 21. So you'd need probably double sin bins or a send off or something like that to even get to that level. So when you're looking at break evens, if they're negative, you can pretty much rely they're going to make cash overall. But it's also good just to keep an eye on those, especially when you're making trades. And you got to predict in that last week, as Brody said, before you make it, whether they're going to beat their break even or not. So it's definitely a thing to keep an eye on. SC Warrior. Tino gets at least one crack at a try line on attack.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, the way he runs the ball, he's always a threat for a try as well. But yeah, just his work in general, offloads, the amount of tackles he gets through, is just Supercoach. Is a gun.
Yeah, 100%, bro. Another good little question here from Jose, and I think we might end it off on this one, brother. When will you guys trade Ayongi if he scores, if he keeps scoring well?
Probably after his price increase, I'll be looking at jumping on someone like Pappenhausen, or Walsh, who's going to score the hundreds. I want 3-gun fullbacks. So I just want to ride the price increase of Ayongi. I don't think Eels will have too many great games where Ayongi's going to score much more than his base stats of about 40, 50. He was pretty lucky on the weekend to get a nice little try there to boost him up. But what are your thoughts? Is that what you're thinking as well?
Yeah, I'm looking. My big option is Ryan Pappenhausen. So Ryan, luckily, as we were touching on before, Ryan Pappenhausen has the buy this week, so he's got another couple of weeks before he gets the price increase, right? So if he does, obviously we need him to not do crazy scoring within this period, but that's probably our best way to get to someone like a Ryan Pappenhausen is Ayongi getting to that 400K range or something like that. Other players you can get up there too. You got Connor Tracy if he continues to go well. Would you prefer him over Ayongi?
Nah, Connor Tracy over Ongi. Yeah, probably down the line, but I'll be targeting definitely my three that I'm targeting.
Yep.
Pappy, Reece Walsh, and Keanu Kinney. I know he hasn't played yet, but
Yes.
Kinney, just his work rate scores him really well. And when the Titans are on an attack, like he's normally on the back of it or scoring a nice little try assist. But yeah, those are probably the three, or the Troll when he comes back. The Hammer, not so
Yep.
much this season. The Jewel was really a plus side for the Hammer last year.
Yeah.
Teddy, until the Roosters fire, Teddy's not an option in my opinion. And same with Drinkwater. I think Drinkwater will. Oh, he scored pretty well on the weekend. Actually, I got to give him that.
Yeah, 72 points against a Tide that like got rolled.
Yeah,
and, you know,
Dylan Edwards is always a pretty lock and load as well.
Yeah, did you say no to James Tedesco this season, right?
So far, yeah,
far.
I think he'll tank in cash a little bit.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. The taller Spectre, I had Iongi. Hold on, I'll switch over screens. I had Iongi, but when I went Duffy into my halves, I decided to go with 3 gun fullbacks. Yeah, that's a good option either way, brother. You don't have to go to cash gen that way. I was prefer to go that way to start the season with Latrell, but when Latrell got pushed out, I just went the opposite way, right?
Yeah, 100%. You know, hopefully Duffy still makes you some cash, but remember, if he gets dropped after 2 weeks, you will not make cash with Duffy.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's the big risk with him.
Whereas Iongi, we kind of knew Iongi would be in for at least half the season, 3 games. You know, he wasn't going to get dropped after 1 or 2 games, whereas Duffy did have that question mark.
Yeah, and that's a big thing too. You got players like Tamale as well with the Canberra Raiders that he obviously scored well in Vegas last week. This week he gets the opportunity again, but with Albert Hopoate still around about the traps, there is a little bit of a risk that he may not hold on to that jersey and Albert Hopoate goes into the wing.
Yeah, once Savage is back from suspension as well, so...
Yeah, so definitely keep an eye on that if you were looking that option. But more than likely, if Tamale keeps up the form, I reckon he could push and hold for that spot because he looks pretty solid out there as well.
Surely he won't get dropped if he has another good week this week.
Surely not. He definitely looked good out there, right? The man, the myth, the legend. Lindsay Collins out. Nafahu White's minutes may increase. Yeah, for sure. Looking at their bench as well, they brought in a couple of juniors. So your thoughts on that? Nafahu White's price... Yeah, minutes 100%. Increase.
He's going to have there's no Hargraves, no Collins, no Radley. So White has definitely got to be the main man now, him and Angus Crichton. Yep. So expect, big minutes out of him this week. He might be not a bad one to have as reserve, as Ash has picked him as reserve. But yeah, a lot of young players coming in for the Roosters that definitely will not handle the NRL speed straight away. And I'm not saying that they won't get used to it or they're not good players, but it's a different speed in NRL and coming up against a team like the Panthers as well. So expect big minutes out of White.
Crazy position the Roosters in right now. Like, again, I probably wouldn't look like, Supercoach wise, Nafahu against the Panthers. The Panthers middles usually overpower the opposite team's middles. So Supercoach wise, probably not the greatest option overall. But if you're looking minutes wise, he will get an uptick there. It has been rumored that I'm pretty sure it's the Savala will get the role to jump up. It's his debut for the Roosters, and Lindsay Collins will come out. Looking off the bench, Blake Steep can play both edge and middle. Losalu, I'm pretty sure he's a middle as well. He's the big body that came off the bench. And Makatoa coming from the Parramatta Eels. Remember him back in the day. He was a 13. So again, those middles, there is carrying a bit of middles there. So just have to wait and see. But probably wouldn't look at Nafahu too much. I am going to be playing him with risk, but it's probably not going to score too crazily against the Penrith Panthers.
No, I think he'll get a base of 50, bro, just on minutes alone. I really do. Yeah. He's going to have to take some tough carries. He's going to have to be in a lot of tackles. So I think you should be safe to run him for about 50 there.
100%. And we just ran through our full 60 minutes, guys, on the lockout. Hope you guys enjoyed this weekend. Anything more you want to touch on before we move on, brother?
Nothing from me, brother. Good luck, everybody. Enjoy.
Yeah, enjoy the footy, guys. Really, really excited. We'll come back to you guys next week, next Thursday for your Supercoach show, and also next Wednesday for Down Unders, as always, on the channel. So thank you so much, guys. Thank you so much, Brodie, as always.
Laters.
Take it easy. See ya.